Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Crew Talk, brought to you by Shoots.video. I'm your host for this evening, Sarah Marintz, and I have a Las Vegas panel with me today. Everyone's from Vegas. Hello, hello. So I'm going to go down the line as I see you on my computer and have you guys say your name, a little bit about what you do, and yeah, whatever else you want to say, just a quick intro. But before I do that, I wanted to just remind everybody, if you have any questions throughout the show, you just drop it in the Q&A box and we will absolutely get to it. So I will start my introductions with Michael Sweeney. Hi, Michael.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for being here.
No problem. No problem. This is fun.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I've been in Vegas for going on maybe like 10 years or so. I have a production company here. Not big, but big enough for some of the smaller productions here. Mostly camera op, DP, do a little editing. I think that's pretty much it. Producing as well, just being in a production company, kind of get those jobs that just need crew or gear or locations or that sort of stuff.
Very cool. We are glad to have you. Thanks for being here. Tyson, you are next on my screen.
Cool. I'm Tyson Hunsaker. I actually moved out to Vegas last year, actually, beginning of 2021. And I'm just a freelance videographer and mostly video editor at the moment, based here in Vegas and Henderson.
Great. Where did you move from?
Idaho.
Very cool. Thanks for being here. Next, we have Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
My name is Joe Marotta. I've been out in Vegas actually my entire life. I recently just started up my production company. Before that, I was doing freelance videography and film DP work. I've done pretty much every job on a set, and that's where a lot of my focus is. And then on top of that, I'm currently within management for a local ad marketing agency out here called VizCap Media. And so we do a lot of like social media ads and productions and stuff. And we have a huge office space that we work out of as well.
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah.
And next we have Mikey. Hi, Mikey.
Hi, my name is Mikey McNulty. I've been in Vegas since 2008, so 14 years now. I come from a stills background that migrated into just about every type of media there is, because you can't really specify one media this day and age. There's a very flowing market. And more recently, in the last couple of years, my career has taken me to aerial, both in drone and low altitude helicopter work.
Wow, that sounds really cool. We're going to have to dive into all of that a little later, but that's pretty awesome. Thanks for being here.
Yep.
And last but not least, we have Miles. Hi, Miles.
Hi, I'm Miles Murphy, born and raised in Vegas, and do freelance directing, DP, and editing, mainly for music videos.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I'm going to kind of launch into my list of questions here that I have for you.
Shoots Video is a place for creatives to showcase their work and be seen by producers, marketing managers, corporate executives, and other future clients. Add your reel to Shoots Video today.
I guess I'll start with Michael. How did you get into production? What were your first steps?
How far back do you want to go?
Take it from the top.
I've since I was a kid, I've always had a camera in my hands. Always been interested in. I always take a photo camera to school. It's just always been visuals have always been part of my world. Getting into it professionally, just kind of I think as you get older, trying to find out what you want to do, where you want to be. I just started talking to friends, and they're like, "Oh, of course, I think a lot of people start in the hey, I need senior photos or wedding video or something like that." And then you just start doing it and you realize you can get paid for it. So you start doing what you love and getting paid for it. I guess that's kind of how it goes. I came from Reno, so I've been here and close enough to LA where I don't have to be there, but can still get work.
Nice. Now, do you like or did you like doing wedding videos? Because from what I hear, that can be very stressful.
Not at all.
Yeah, not a lot of people do.
Yeah, if friends ask me, nope, sorry, I'll pass them on to the people I know. I cannot do those. The senior photos, anything like that, strictly more, the narrative commercial aspect of film and photography.
Weddings were your stepping stone to get where you are.
I guess. I wouldn't say it was my stepping stone. It was the thing that there's always weddings and you can always make money off it. And starting out, I think it's kind of easy to get, work through that means.
Well, yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that brief history of how you got started. Joe, what about you? What was your journey like to get where you are now?
I love this question because it's the exact opposite of what Michael said. I didn't grow up like having a passion for camera work. Like it was never any of that. I actually went to Las Vegas Academy for music, and then I didn't really do anything related to the arts. And I was 22 working as a business banker for Wells Fargo. And I just wanted to like write something, and I just started like writing scripts. I learned how to do like script formatting, and I wrote a couple scripts and shared them with some people, and they were like, "Hey man, these are like really, really good." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I quit Wells Fargo and I just jumped into film completely. Like there was nothing before any of that like showed it. It was just some random thing that popped up, and now I've been doing it since 2016.
How long did you stay at Wells Fargo until you were like, okay, I'm going to take this like full time now? Was there an overlap?
So if you mean like once, like when I was at Wells Fargo, at what point I realized I was good at it to when I left, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Then probably like 4 months.
Oh, okay. Pretty quickly.
Yeah, I realized pretty quickly because like I was making a lot of money working at Wells Fargo, but it wasn't like I didn't like it.
You weren't passionate about banking.
No. So instead I left and I took some like crappy like graveyard shift security job where I just sat in a gatehouse and I could just write all night. And so yeah, that's just what I ended up doing. So exact opposite of Mike. There was nothing building up to it. It just randomly happened.
Does anyone else on the panel kind of have a story like that where you were doing something completely opposite of what you're doing now?
I could say something. Okay. So actually, when I was in Reno before I came to Vegas, I was doing construction, and that was like the job that paid my bills at the time. And then the housing crisis happened, and there was no construction. So that's kind of what pushed me more into this field. So that's my story.
Mikey, were you always doing this?
So, like I said before, I'm kind of originally from a stills background. So I originally grew up like taking pictures on like a 35 millimeter camera of like beach sunsets and stuff. And then I went to a photography school when I was 19 in Massachusetts. And that kind of got me into the club scene in Massachusetts, which then I started traveling to Vegas to photograph DJs. And then I toured with DJs and artists and did music festivals all over the country for a while, and ended up moving to Vegas specifically for that. And that kind of evolved into me not wanting to stay up until 5 a.m. and then like repeat every day because that's how this city is. So I phased out and started doing more production oriented photography stuff in Vegas. And the lighting in photography can be similar to the lighting in video. And that kind of brought me into some grip and gaffer jobs, along with some camera work, because over the time, this is dating a little bit, but the 5D Mark II kind of evolved a lot of photographers into videographers. And it was one of the things where that was when I started shooting video just because I could. And that led into more production work. And I do work with Michael Sweeney sometimes now on his productions. But like I said, I'm all over the place, and it can be that kind of brought me to where I am today, for just not liking sitting on my couch, I guess. So I'll pretty much do whatever comes along. And that's where I am today.
So you kind of just like one thing led to another with like you started here, here, and then oh, cool.
Oh yeah, and absolutely. And like one day I can be flying a drone, the next day I can be on a photo shoot, the next day I can be on a video shoot. Like there's all sorts of different stuff that I kind of do at this point in time, and it's a very busy thing. There's a lot of work in this town that especially if you're not sticking to one thing, in my perspective. If you want to be a DP, then that might be a little hard sometimes to just be a DP and never like do camera assist or any of that.
Is Las Vegas a good city to be in production wise? I mean, I know everyone kind of wants to go to LA or goes to LA, but would you say Vegas has enough work and the same kind of tier work?
I would probably say that every single person on this panel has a different answer to that, because it sounds like everybody is kind of on their own paths, and that's what I've met through everybody that I've met in Vegas. Everybody seems to be doing a couple different things in their life.
All right. Well, I was wondering, I guess if you're starting out, would you say Vegas might be a good place to start out in the industry?
I mean, if you want to get coffee, everybody can use a PA. So that's a really good thing. And I feel like maybe there's a little less PAs than usual in the last couple of years.
I'd agree on that.
So, finding somebody that can work for a little bit lower rate that doesn't necessarily need to have a skill. And I'll even sidetrack this over into the photography world of this a little bit, where I have issues finding assistants because nobody really wants to assist. They kind of just want to take a picture and get Instagram famous, and then completely bypass like the entire production life of like how you even get to that point of having a high-end client.
So you mentioned Instagram famous. Everyone wants to be Instagram famous. Well, on the panel we had, I guess 2 weeks ago, I can't remember where everyone was from, but somebody mentioned that the word viral makes them cringe, that they hate like going viral or creating content to go viral. What do you guys like? What's your take on viral videos, viral content?
So this is actually, so my day job, the managing job that I do with VizCap Media, like, so what that company does is, that's the goal, is we create ads. So we create ads that we call UGC, which is meant to be user generated content, which is like anytime you go on Instagram or like TikTok and you see somebody who's selling something and it looks like they're sitting in their living room, that's what we do. And we build sets and it's fake. Like that's the kind of stuff that we do.
Wow.
So that's the entire goal for that company, is to make those things go viral. So my opinion of that is that it has its place. Certain kinds of content are more built for something like that. But if you're striving to go viral, then you're probably going to have a little bit harder time, especially because the algorithms are just always changing. Like you need to be constantly working. It is a full-time job if you want to produce content with the goal of going viral. Like it's full time.
So that company kind of takes an organic approach to kind of not like, here, buy this, but like you're just chilling out and like you show the product kind of subtly.
So actually it's yes and no. So the kind of marketing that VizCap does is actually direct marketing, which is like, no, it's very much like, yo, you should buy this. But the way that it's presented is someone is in their house with the product and it's just like, oh my God, this changed my life. You need to get this. So it's like essentially like what those late night TV ads you used to see with like the black and white and the red X's and people who don't know how to pour their water right. But it's like, it's user generated in somebody's living room. And so, yeah, it's a whole leg of content that I don't think people know exist because it's supposed to look like somebody's doing it in their own house.
That's pretty cool. I like that. That's neat. I want to flip over to Miles. You said you focus mainly on music videos. Can you kind of talk to us about the music video world?
Yeah. So, I mean, the way that I got into it was I was just making videos for fun. I'd always made videos like growing up just for fun. And when I was in high school, I was just posting them on like YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. And, the goal had always been to like eventually do this professionally because I always enjoyed doing it. But, I was like 15 in high school, but I got my first job then when I was 15. A band saw one of my videos and wanted me to do their music video for them. And so we did that and it went well. And then ended up going on like the later half of their tour with them. Just like over summer, I wasn't in school. But then from there, it just, I kind of realized like I do enjoy working with like artists and bands and stuff like that. And kind of like having a story paired with their song. And being able to create that for them, I just really enjoyed it. And so from there on out, I've just been mainly focusing on music videos.
Can I ask what band it was?
It was a band called AJR.
Oh, okay, cool. That's pretty neat. Yeah. And so do you still get to work with them?
I still do a little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. And so do you think you want to kind of stay in the music video track, or do you want to explore other areas of production?
I've recently, I do like music videos a lot, but I have been exploring other things. I've been doing like a little bit more like commercial work recently with some medical companies in San Jose and some other tech startups and stuff like that. But I think eventually I want to like more so steer towards maybe documentaries and feature length stuff. But I think music videos will always be there. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, especially if that's like where your heart is. It's like
yeah.
Very cool. So a topic that we bring up pretty much every panel is COVID and how it affected you, how it affected your work. If you had to like shift gears and really change your business. So Tyson, how were you affected by the pandemic for work?
I mean, first of all, I started to really take like investing into equipment seriously and investing into like kind of creating my own little editing suite here at home, getting my own stuff so that I could make some kind of money while everything was shut down. Also I have a daughter, so I had to try and make that work. Creating like this little play corner in my office space. But it also, even though there was a lot of adaptation and a lot of problem solving involved, I really like how it opened up a lot of doors and opportunities to be working with people all across the country or even other places of the world that like I can barely speak or communicate with because of some language barriers. So it was kind of a double-edged sword, I guess, in a good way and a bad way, where like life kind of threw us some curveballs, but at the same time, it also gave us a lot of opportunities too.
How did you promote yourself and your work during that time?
Social media. I tried to really hammer through social media as much as I could. Trying to build an Instagram, some YouTube videos. I revamped my website. I created more reels because at the time my website and my portfolio was lacking in any kind of professional structure or organization. It wasn't well polished at the time. So that kind of gave me more incentive to just really invest a lot of time into just creating a nice presentation of myself and my brand.
And it worked.
I try.
Yeah. Michael, what about you?
As you can see, I definitely pivoted a little because a lot of those remote interviews, hooking the camera up to Zoom as we're doing right now, I ended up doing a lot of those actually, and it was a little bit of a learning curve just because another thing was the whole like they wanted only one person there. We don't want to spread COVID, so it was always like I had to learn a little bit more audio, how to mic people and that sort of stuff, just to get those little jobs that came here and there. I guess I think I'm kind of fortunate that I didn't struggle too much. But that in terms of pivoting, that's probably where I went. And then as time went on, obviously things opened back up. I had to learn the COVID protocols. I took a few like training classes on like COVID safety. I think that's kind of the only thing I could think of that really kind of shifted. And as we are now, we're pretty much back to our normal production. So I don't think I could really say much more on that.
Did anyone here like really have to scramble or switch gears in terms of what you were doing before COVID and then during like the early days of the pandemic?
No, I mean, at least I didn't. Before COVID, I was, I would say that the work amount didn't really change. It just who it was being done for. Like before that, I was working with different productions or like companies and stuff, but then like that kind of dried up. It's not that I really switched gears. I was just like, okay, I guess I'm going to make my own stuff for a little bit. And I used that time to learn everything that I thought that I would need once it ended. So it was just me shooting stuff in my house. Like me and my girlfriend did comedy skits and I did visual aesthetic shoots, and I started exploring like how to do the art of storytelling with the camera and stuff with no dialogue and audio. So it didn't really completely change things. It was just kind of like, oh, I guess this is happening. And yeah, that's how it was for me.
Learning to adapt.
Yeah.
Mikey, what about you?
So originally, like the day the strip shut down, I started going down and videotaping as much as I could, which I'm seeing some head nods here. So I'm assuming some other people did. And it was, that in itself was such an eerie feeling. I was down there by myself and there was just nobody there. And it was like time to gather as much content as I could of like photos and videos of this stuff, because like the casino doors were shut with closed signs and all the billboards were dark. So that was the start of this thing where I didn't know what was going on. Nobody did. And the one thing that I could do more and more with nobody around is fly a drone. And that definitely just skyrocketed and launched me into way more aerial stuff. And that's throughout the pandemic. Like I kind of got this treat of being able to go film the strip when nobody's there and really figure out how to do stuff on the strip with aerial, almost like a practice run, because all the there was no police, there was no crowds, there was no nothing. So it all kind of played in where I had like a training wheel time to just go fly in one of the busiest places in the world. And that definitely benefited me, because as things started getting back into where they are now, I just had a killer portfolio of the entire Las Vegas Strip. And that definitely helped launch my aerial stuff to where it is today.
Did anybody else kind of do the same thing? Just go out and shoot whatever?
I definitely went down on the strip like he's saying. I took a camera down there and filmed a bunch of just my buddy walking around in these empty parking lots and stuff. It was a trip. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I'm going to butt in for a second. I see some questions on the drone stuff on the chat. So I have permits, and also about the interference shoot, I'm on a Inspire 2 with the Ascendance remote, so I don't really get that many interference issues. But every time I fly, I do have FAA permits, and all of the police are notified of that. So that's the way to avoid the fines.
Oh yeah, I see we had some questions about all of that. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, thank you for the little drone info. I didn't know that you had to have a permit to shoot on the strip. That's pretty cool. Awesome. let me get to my questions over here. Oh,
Yeah,
one.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm cutting off everybody. I definitely
It's
cut
okay.
off Miles.
It's okay.
He was definitely saying something.
Oh, you're fine.
It's totally fine. One thing that we usually end up talking about on the production talks is about gear and what your favorite pieces are, what your must-haves are in your kit. So, Tyson, I'll start with you. You want to talk a little bit about your gear, what your favorite piece is?
Favorite pieces, batteries and gaff tape. What I but you know what I shoot on mostly when it comes to just like my own short films or short documentaries or some commercial work. I have a Blackmagic pocket cinema camera and a set of Sigma Art lenses. I love Sigma Arts.
Those are great lenses.
Yeah, I love
great
those. I just have like, you know, the 18 to 35, the 50 and the 70, and that kind of takes care of everything for me. So yeah, those are great. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about those Sigma Arts. And
do you have the cinema versions or are the like DSLR versions?
Just the DSLR, like the photo versions.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I would actually recommend if anyone like uses like photo lenses but wants to use a follow focus, like you can just get like these $30 follow focus gear rings that you can just like slide right onto your lenses. Those are awesome to have. So that's another favorite. Those are really nice to have, so you don't have to use those like weird zip tie things. That was the worst. If you have it, use it, but like, you know.
Michael, what are some of your gear must-haves?
If my buddy was on here right now, he'd laugh. I have these things I call crystals. So they're just basically like prisms or little pieces of glass, or some of them are actually screw-on filters that have like just different artifacts to them. They can do like they're part like I wouldn't say split diopter, but they're like open in the middle. So there's like diopters on both sides. I like using those because it just adds a little bit something to the frame sometimes, you know, putting a little bit of like these prisms or these, I don't know if I'm using the right words. I always call them crystals because that's what they look like. And you put them in front and the light reflects on them or refracts on them, and you can shoot light into them, and you kind of get these cool different effects, just blurry, like kind of interesting aspects to like the foreground elements. And it just kind of adds a little bit, like if you're shooting a lot of trade shows or just some like a hotel, you know, you're doing like a dolly or something into a living room, it's kind of boring. Add a little, like you're crossing past like this refracted light or something. I'd say that. Other than that, you know, I don't have any must-haves. I mean, I have a bunch of gear, but all of it can come and go. It just kind of depends on the shoot, I think.
I've seen those crystals, as you were calling them before, and that's a pretty cool effect.
I wish I had them on my car. I could have grabbed them, but yeah, I have all sorts of different kinds. You can get them on Amazon, or there's actually what's a company like FX Prism or something sells a bunch of different versions of them. I think they're fun. You know, they're not in every case thing or use, but they can add a little bit to the image.
Cool. Joe, what are some pieces of gear that you would say people who are starting out should have in their kit?
I mean, it depends on what they want to do. If they're trying to do like videography, then like videography or like run and gun shooting, then it's probably best to have like a small compact camera. The camera, like I've always been a Blackmagic guy. Like I love the company. I love what they do. I love how they make everything so cheap to compete with like the bigger companies. And that's personally what I use. But lately I've started using the Canon R5 and the R5C. And that thing is just a absolute powerhouse of a camera. Like that thing, you can do videography with that. Its autofocus is absolutely amazing. It is light. It shoots 8K. Like it's absolutely insane, and it's cheaper than most cameras that can shoot 8K. So depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to do like films, then I think the most important thing is getting some good lights. Honestly, I think that lighting is something that people take for granted, and they don't put enough work and effort towards that in like the indie community. So just getting some good name brand quality lights, even, or like even some Godox lights, and then learning to use them. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of money to make something amazing. My first dozen projects were shot on a Panasonic G7 that cost me $400, and it was just a matter of me learning how to light. So that's what I would say. Some lights, and then learning to use them.
I'd say lighting would be the most important thing aside from anything else, because that's what really shapes the image.
Yeah, for sure.
Mikey, on the photography side, what would you say are some things that you should have in your kit?
I like where Joe was actually going with that, where you can have a really bad camera, and as long as you light things, then you're kind of all set. So if you were going in photography, like I would always say, and this may be more on the video end as well, that like when you invest in good glass, it just never goes out of style, and it never gets old, and it never loses its value. So if you go out and you buy a really nice lens with a kind of crappy camera, you can always upgrade the camera, but the lens does make a huge difference, especially if you know how to light things. So, and that's where it comes into play. What we was just talking about before, is going on sets with or as a lower person, maybe a PA or something, and learning the lighting and how people light things, because it makes all the difference in the world. And obviously you'll know like the difference in between a RED and a DSLR, but when you're starting off, it really is helpful to know the lighting first along and then follow.
How do you know when it's time to upgrade to the newer or better piece of equipment?
You don't have to put it on a credit card.
Yeah, because that's I would actually agree with that too. Because like I think like upgrading to the newer thing or like the better thing, I think it's not usually as necessary as people think it is. Like if you're running around like with I would say if you're running around with like a 15-year-old 1080p camcorder, then yeah, probably want to look into upgrading. But as long as you can swap out lenses, and as long as you're able to tell the story that you want then it doesn't really matter what camera it is. Like if your story requires you to have really good control over the color, then you probably need a 10 or 12 bit camera that's able to shoot in RAW. But like, so it really depends on who you are. It depends on the story you're trying to tell. But like, I think that this idea that you have to upgrade to the newest and greatest thing, you don't need to do that unless you have a purpose for it. So if you don't have to put it on a credit card and you actually have a reason for getting it, then okay. But other than that, I think it's more about just growing your skills.
Do you guys all agree? Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just, on that same note, I'd say the reason to upgrade, or the time when you need to upgrade, is when it benefits like the story, because ultimately the visuals or what you're trying to express is the most important, aside from lighting. Obviously, lets people see the image, but if you need something that helps tell the story better, I think that's maybe a time to upgrade or rent or something. Just try something new.
Would you recommend renting the piece of equipment that you're looking to buy before you buy it to test it out?
So that's well, yeah, definitely. And then also just on the note of buying too, it also depends on your market. LA, I don't think anyone owns gear over there in LA. Probably same for New York, because there's huge rental houses. You can rent stuff. If I needed anything right now, I could call them up and get it in like an hour. But somewhere like Vegas here, that's kind of where I got stuck is the purchasing game, the gear game, because there wasn't a lot of stuff here, which is a benefit and a plus, or a benefit and a negative. Negative is you spend a lot of money, but the plus is if you have that one camera and no one else in town has it, people are coming to you to rent it or use it. So it's also the market too. If you're in LA, I don't think you would ever want to own anything, because you just save that money for either your projects or to pay the high mortgage or rent.
Yeah. The thing that I go with renting is specifically the things that I usually rent are lenses. I'll own the cameras and I'll own the lights and stuff. But like renting is for specialty things, and there's no way I can ever, like, I mean, until I have like a giant, huge company, there's no way I'm going to be owning all of the lenses I'll ever need. Like lenses are the things where it's really dependent on the project. Like I did a project a couple months ago where I wanted a super wide 12 millimeter with no fisheye. And so I had to go rent, I can't remember the name of the brand, but I had to go rent off of Lens Rentals. And it was like such a specialty lens. It would cost me like $10,000 to buy it, but I can just rent it for a week for $100. And now, yeah, so lenses are usually the things that I rent.
Yeah, and I would say that also what you buy, like cameras. I mean, you don't want to buy the newest and greatest camera every year because 10 of them will come out in 1 year. It's stupid. But stuff like, say, C-stands, you could own those for the rest of your life. Those aren't bad to buy. Anything like that. Lights, again, we're now in the LED tech, so I don't think lights are going to change drastically as they did going from hot lights and tungsten lights to LEDs. So buying lights, you'll probably always be able to use those regardless of the new technology. So I think that, I don't know if I think I'm kind of going off on a tangent there, but that's kind of the idea of like what to buy and when to upgrade, I guess, is choose. Cameras are probably the worst thing to buy, in my opinion, even though, we all own them, but we kind of have to in this town.
Yeah, we had somebody in the chat say that with tech moving so fast, it's probably not a good idea to own gear unless you're busy on a daily basis. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, probably.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I would say either that or if like, I think that the two reasons to own gear is if you're constantly using it on a daily basis, or if you're the kind of person who will just get a project or something that you're brought onto at the drop of a hat. Like if it's a last minute thing and you don't have time to go online and get a rental because we don't have those big rental houses, then whatever you get enough to make it work if you had to. Like I don't have big fancy lenses for my cameras. I have Rokinon cinema lenses. I have the Sigma art lenses, and then I make it work with those. And if I needed something super specialized, then I would hope that I'm getting more than a couple days notice to do it. So
Miles, what were you going to say about all of it?
I was going to say, I agree with Michael LA has so many like rental things. A lot of my work I have to commute to LA for, but I agree with what everyone's saying. I don't think you necessarily need like the latest and greatest camera. I used like a GH5 for a long time before I finally upgraded, but also now a lot of my stuff I shoot on Super 16 and Super 35 millimeter film.
Oh, so cool.
That's like mainly what I'm doing now. So I don't even have the need to upgrade to like the latest digital camera or anything like that.
All right, so I want to shift and kind of talk about lessons that you've learned over the years, whether a lesson or just a really good piece of advice you would have for somebody starting out and trying to get where you guys are. Michael, we'll start with you. What are some of the lessons you've learned?
I think I wrote some down here. Jobs come and go. Like, don't be stressed out. The jobs will, you might think, oh, I have to get this job because there's not going to be any more. There's a lot of work out there, believe it or not. It takes some effort and networking. The cheap jobs are usually the worst and hardest job. You would think you're getting paid less, so you don't have to do as much, but it's the complete opposite, at least in my experience. So if you get a job that comes in and it's like a really low rate or, long hours or something, then it's usually going to be more of a pain in the ass. Don't stress, because usually if you take that job, and it's proven this way every single time I've ever done that, a better job that's easier and more pay comes along, and you're already screwed because you're on that other job. And then, that was kind of the ones I wrote down. Those are the things I learned.
You are so right about clients that'll come in, like it's like a lower budget project or whatever, and it's like those are the ones that it's just like you just can't seem to please, and they're coming back for this and that and the other thing. And so I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, they cut corners, and then it all falls on you in the end.
Yeah, totally. Tyson, what about you?
Yeah, I'd echo those. Those are good lessons. I'd probably add, learn from any and every source of knowledge you can. Like learn the craft from as many different places as you can think of, and just kind of be a sponge and absorb. This is especially for people who are starting out, but honestly, in our in our industry, though. Like that doesn't change. We're always learning new things, and especially since tech is always evolving, we always have to be adapting to the tech too. And then also know your value, know your worth. Don't be taken. Don't put yourself in a position where you're doing a job for maybe low pay or at the expense of your mental health that could compromise your love for what you do. And you could end up just like really not liking what you do because maybe you feel like you're not being valued or you're being taken advantage of. Just know your worth and protect your love for what you do, and let that exude in the projects that you take too.
Absolutely. That's wonderful advice. Wonderful advice. Joe, what do you have to say?
I mean, I would echo everything that Michael and Tyson said. I think the most important thing for people to know, both when they're starting and even as they become experts in their fields, that there's always going to be someone better than you. And instead of being upset about it, you should take it as an opportunity to watch them, learn what they're doing, and take those skills and make them your own. Like
Joe, you froze there.
Okay, this guy's a little bit.
Oh
yeah. Am I back?
Back up a little bit and say it again.
What's the last thing that you guys heard?
You were talking about someone coming around that's better than you, and like instead of being upset, like take it in.
Yeah. So we have to be collaborators, and so there's always going to be skills that are like someone's going to be better than you at something, and it's really important to be able to take a step back and learn how to listen. And then second is just fail. You're going to fail. You're going to fail a lot. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's actually the best thing you can possibly do, because every time you fail, you're just learning how to not fail that hard next time. And so you just can't let yourself get like beat down because you just seem to be failing. It's everyone fails. You're going to fail. And you're going to make it through it.
It's going to happen, but you got to get back up on the horse.
Yeah. Sometimes you go back and you look at your footage and you're just like, wow, but you're just like, okay, then you have to be able, instead of being upset about it, you have to be able to say, okay, why was it crap? How do I make it not crap next time? And that's all you can do.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. That's good advice. Mikey, moving on to you.
I would definitely say time. Time takes, it just takes time. Everything takes time. You can't really go through any of this process and expect anything to happen tomorrow. And also along with that, the biggest thing too is I feel like every day that I work a job, I work it with some type of family. And it's all about the crews we have that we've worked together. And like after a 14-hour day, can you go through and still look at that person and be like, I don't want to kill that guy? Like that's like, we've all been through some stressful things. And I feel like you could work with any single person on this panel, and after a 14-hour day that's just a complete hellhole, you will either know if that person is like your new brother or you just can't work with them again. And I feel like there's not a lot of the people in Vegas that you can't work with again, but it's always that thing where your next job most likely comes from the person to the left or right of you that you've worked with before that needs some help on something else that rolls into something else that rolls into something else. And it's just a perpetual process of really like not being a likable, but just being yourself and doing a good job no matter what the job is. And for the love of God, trying to have fun with this, because we've all just been on 14 or 18 or 24-hour days where you just want to leave, and that person next to you that you're working with feels your pain and can definitely help you, and you can call them the next day and be like, hey, what's the next job?
If I can add into that real quick, same thing is word gets around too, especially in a small town like this in production. So the attitude that you show on set or around other production people will spread quickly. So people are more likely to work with someone that doesn't know as much, but is super go getting and just happy to be around. I always like to say, like, we're not saving lives, so there's nothing to be stressed about. Just get the job done safely, and then maybe the next one will be half as hard, I guess.
Yeah, and I would say that another really important thing for people starting out is definitely the attitude thing, because like if I can't count the number of times where I've been on a set with someone who's had a world of experience, but they just don't seem to love it. And I'm like, then why are you doing this? Whereas I get one guy who's brand new and he's presented with a problem, instead of breaking down and like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. He's saying, okay, well, let's see. How can we solve this? And it's just like, it's that attitude where when you're presented with a problem and you say, okay, how can we solve it? I think that is so huge.
No, that's all great advice. And Mikey, what you were saying, I think it was you who just said you got to be happy, like enjoying it. And that's a big part of it. Big part of it. Miles, what advice do you have?
I mean, I love what everyone has said, but I think one thing, at least for me when I was starting out, is like finding your style with video. I mean, I think this could depend on what kind of work you want to get into, but I think with music videos, especially, which is, mainly what I've been doing, having a style that is original or like, creates value for the artist, I think is something that's important. But also like, if you're on set, obviously talk to everyone, be nice, the basics like that, but find like who you enjoy working with and, keep them close and continue working with them. I think that's what, for me at least, has helped the most.
It was great advice that you all gave. Thank you guys very much for that. And I think we're getting close to wrapping up. One question that did just come in, I think, is, do any of you retain an attorney?
I have an attorney on retainer right now for an issue, but I do not consistently have one on retainer.
No,
It's like situation based. If something comes up, then you would.
Yeah. Usually, the cheaper way to do that is just wait until the issue comes up, and then they take a retainer for the issue, as opposed to just giving them your money and waiting for an issue to happen.
Yeah, my attorney is LegalZoom, so I that's who I go for all my contracts and stuff. He's a great guy. I love him.
Anyone else have anything to say about the legal side of things?
I'd say it is pretty situational, and sometimes you might not need it, but it is good to have, especially when it comes to contracts, because you've got to protect yourself when it comes to your, your time and your work. I don't hire like a lawyer or attorney on retainer, but I do have a family member who specializes in contracts when it comes to these kind of things, and he went to law school, so I just kind of unfairly ask him for some help every once in a while. And
always nice to have a lawyer in the family. Like if you have a lawyer in the family or a close friend, that's always very helpful.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think we're getting close to wrapping up. So at the end of every show, I always go around again to everyone on the panel, and you can just say your name again if you have a website where people can find you, or if you want to say your Instagram handle, whatever you want to say. Now's the time that you get to promote yourself. So Michael, I will start with you.
All right. My name is Michael Sweeney. My production company is Everything to Nothing Studios, or ETN Studios for short. Instagram, ETN Studios, and Facebook, ETN Studios, and website, www. I haven't updated in a long time, but etnstudios.com.
Well, thank you for being here. And if you also want to drop all the information that you say into the chat box, that'd be great. Tyson, you're next.
Thanks again for having me. You can find me everywhere just with hunsakermedia.com. Hunsaker is just my last name. You can find Hunsaker Media on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, LinkedIn. I think that's kind of it. You can follow for some updates on a short film I'm working on. We're finishing up principal photography next week. It's a fun little no budget passion project that I wrote the script for like years ago. Just never got around to making it until now, until I just decided, you know what, it's time.
Well, it was great to have you, and best of luck with your passion project.
Thanks.
Yep, Joe.
So Joe Marotta, my company is called Ascended Entertainment. I will drop the website link in the chat. That's pretty much where you can go to find everything. Before we move on, I wanted to ask a question to Mikey, actually, just a real quick question. When you went in from stills into video, I like asking this question to photographers. What do you think is more challenging, with photography or video production?
I feel that photography is slightly more challenging for the sole reason that in photography, you are able to look at an exact image for as long as you want. In video, it is a moving picture and you move on from that. So your lighting needs to be more on point. Your composition needs to be more on point, because I can look at that image for eternity and figure out where the flaws are. I do notice this a lot in video, that there is, especially in portraiture scenes, there's a lot of sloppy lighting, but you don't recognize it's sloppy lighting because it's not a solid photo.
Yeah, that's oh, okay, good. Because my take on that was that it always seems to me like I started with a little bit of photography, just learning cameras, and it always seemed like the harder thing, simply because like with video you have 24 frames every second to cover up a mistake, whereas with a photo you have to tell an entire story with just a single frame, and so like that just seemed like way too much pressure for me.
So one of my things is lighting patterns on the nose really gets me, and sometimes the lighting patterns in even movies, they go to complete crap. And if you can keep like a Rembrandt light on a face for an entire scene in video, that is an amazing thing to do. Or like keep it a short loop or a long loop. Like if you can pick one of those lighting patterns and actually get it through the entire scene in video, that in itself is an amazing challenge. Yeah. But in photo, you just have that leeway where if you have a crappy lighting pattern, that's what you see.
That's a really interesting take on it. I've never heard that side of it. Sorry, I had to ask that question. The moment he said he was did still photography, I had to bring that up because I ask everybody that. So.
No, you can ask any question you want. Mikey, you want to go ahead and promote yourself?
Yeah, sure. It's Mikey McNulty. My Instagram and my YouTube are both my name, Mikey McNulty. My company name is Refracting Pixels LLC, and my website is mcnultystudios.com.
Very cool. Thank you for being here today. And Miles, go for it.
My Instagram is Miles Murphy, and my website is milesmurphy.com.
All right. And you said your Instagram, right? Miles Murphy.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for being here today. It was very informative, and we learned all about what you do, which is great. And best of luck to all of you on the projects you're working on. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. And for everyone else, I'm Sarah Marintz. You can find me at sarahmarintz.com for all your voiceover needs. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks, everybody.
Right. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, guys.
You might be looking at Shoot Stop Video and thinking, so how does this all work? Is this about A, setting up the whole crew for me, B, just giving me options and having me handle it, or C, something in between? Well, it's D, all of the above. To put it simply, we're here to help you in any way that we can to get the crew and talent you need for your next production. We believe that every level of video production can benefit from a well-maintained list of qualified crew members for every position. This goes for pre-pro, on set, and for post. Every project is different, so if you need a producer to help manage the decision-making process, then we can totally do that. If you're already a producer and want to build your own crew from scratch, then go for it. We're here to make your next production a success. And if you are crew or talent looking for producers that want you, then you've come to the right place. Sign up now, and also leave a referral for any solid people that you know that are already on here. Thank you for considering Shoots.video, and happy shooting!